Good morning, dear shareholders. Welcome. And thank you for attending our annual general meeting 2023 as convened as per the agreement of the Board of Directors on the 28th of April 2023. Now the Secretary has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. This AGM is convened responding to the call to meeting published on our website and the CNMV website on the 28th of April and El Mundo newspaper on the 29th of April. The company offers shareholders the possibility to attend this meeting either in person or remotely. All these measures are compatible with the obligations as per the company bylaws and fully guarantee the policy rights of shareholders. We can now read the announcement of the calling, or if you rather we skip it, we can consider it read as everybody knows the text. Attendees who attend remotely and wish to do so can make declarations or participate and put forward requests for information or clarification in written through the app for remote attendance in the section Participation, or to make communications or get in touch and communicate to the notary. If any of the remote attendees wish for their participation to be included in the minutes, should express so in the text. Should there be proposals for resolution not included in the agenda, remote attendees may vote as of the minute when such proposals are read. In any case, the period for remote attendees voting on all the proposals for resolution be or not included in the agenda will end after the reading by the Secretary of the summaries of the proposals for resolution. We therefore consider the call to meeting being read, and there has been no proposals for resolution be put forward other than the matters included in the agenda. No requests have been received prior to the meeting for information from shareholders. From the date of the call to meeting up until today, the company has made available in their corporate website all information as per the 518 article of the Companies Act in Spain. We have in attendance the members of the board and the notary, Mr. Francisco Mires Ortiz, who will take note duly of the meeting proceedings. The notary is to the left. Our President, José Manuel Entrecanales Domecq, is presiding the meeting. He is the President of the Board of Administrators. The list of attendees has been finalized by the company services with all shareholders in attendance, but I can already say that the quorum up until this moment exceeds the necessary legal and bylaw minimum requirements to constitute on first call this meeting and decide on all items in the agenda. It is worth highlighting that in order to approve the agreement in point 6 in the agenda, there should be a positive vote of 2/3 of the underwritten capital with voting rights. The full list will be prepared in a few minutes and made known to the meeting before entering into discussions, as per Article 22 of the bylaws. Not to make you wait, we will read the attendance data after the intervention of the President and the CEO, which is when the meeting will be duly constituted.
I give the floor to the CEO.
Good day, shareholders, ladies and gentlemen. It is a pleasure for me to speak to you all to explain the evolution of the company throughout 2022. This is a year when once again we've witnessed the resilience of our model, a model that is based on sustainable, profitable, long-term investment. Despite the fact that last year we faced a volatile environment with too many regulatory changes and the biggest inflation in 25 years, and general uncertainty due to geopolitical considerations, in ACCIONA Energía, we've lived one of our best years with regards to results and the development of new opportunities. This undoubtedly will be a solid contribution to our future progress. In a context such as the one we're facing, the value of the renewable megawatt per hour is increasing. This is a consequence of the late recognition of the disadvantages and risks associated to a fossil fuel-based model. In our case, we have a platform with 12 gigawatts of assets, which are exclusively clean. This is something that truly makes the difference for us, as does our focus on geographical and technological diversification, which mitigates risks and opens the door to a plethora of opportunities backed by our stability and sound financial situation, given our asset base and the constant quest for excellency and sustainability and innovation in all we do. In 2022, there were quite a few challenges. This was one of the periods we can consider the worst in terms of the resource level, particularly hydro. And this is a concern along the lines of what's happening concerning climate change. Beyond this, the regulatory environment due to high energy prices evolved too quickly with too much variability, particularly in Spain, triggering situations that were very complex in the market, not only here, but also in countries with nodal prices or scarce infrastructures for transmission. And in the face of all this, we've tried to be as agile as possible in our actions, both from the regulatory perspective and also concerning our commercial policy, always protecting the business and ensuring prices and volumes for the present and the future. We are managing to make great progress in financial numbers with regards to the plan announced when we became listed. Let me recap those figures, which we trust will continue replicating. We closed 2022 with a turnover of 4.3351 billion, which is 76% over 2021, with an EBITDA that reached 1.6 billion. That is to say 52% over the previous year, when we and an attributable profit of 1.6 billion. Debt net at the end of the exercise was 2.1 billion, which entails an indebtedness of less than 1.2 times our EBITDA. So we are therefore one of the healthiest companies in the energy industry. This allows us to tackle our growth commitments with ease. Our successful position in the financial markets has been backed by the positive credit rating by DBRS and Fitch. And in 2022, we enter IBEX 35 and other indexes such as S&P Global Clean Energy and Stocks Europe 600. This has given us greater exposure and international visibility. In operating terms, our total production reached 24 terawatt-hour in an environment where the resource level was exceptionally low and there were big challenges for the integration in the grid. But our production was sustained given the high standards by our operations and maintenance teams and the advanced digitization of our operations with a view to maximizing efficiency and lifetime for our assets. Concerning capture prices, last year we benefited from a very well-balanced position and contracts in the context of high prices, and also from the active renovation of financial coverage and other commercial elements to mitigate revenue risks. Our average generation price in 2022 was 114 euros megawatt hour. This year, our growth strategy by our distribution company in Spain was one of the key events. The biggest 100% renewable in the country. And the contracts for SMEs went from 2,000 in 2021 to 20,000 at the end of 2022. There was also a renegotiation of prices in the context of existing PPAs to spread among them the greatest investment costs. And also there was the closing of financial coverage with a price of 170 euros megawatt hour. Now, if we talk about growth, The year was a record one for development and engineering and construction, with 706 megawatts installed, adding to our portfolio, and more than 3 gigawatts in various construction stages. This sets a good basis to increase the installation pace in future years. In 2023, we trust we'll be able to add 1.8 gigawatts to our capacity, and this will be a landmark and a tipping point for ACCIONA Energía, going to show we are able to both execute and grow. Our net investment flow grew from 819 million in 2021 to close to 1.3 billion in 2022. We implemented a strategy that doesn't seek out disproportionate growth at the expense of profitability, but rather a stable environment and the maintainment of our investment grade. We select very well our projects because they are for us, and we work in order to optimize them. During this year, we've made great achievements, such as the construction of the biggest wind power park in Australia, the McIntyre project in Australia, to the tune of 1 gigawatt, the construction in the Dominican Republic and Peru of new installations. These are two big growth markets for the company, and also the reactivation of our growth in Croatia with 2 new projects after more than 8 years without activity, or the awarding in the national market in a public auction of a biomass plant of 50 megawatts in Logrosan, Extremadura, or the more than 1,300 megawatts under construction, somewhat that is, here in the States. In order to maintain that growth, we are exploring opportunities in more than 40 countries, feeding to a pipeline of more than 338 gigawatts, 19 of which in mature development stages. And we trust to continue making progress with opportunities short-term in Spain, South Africa, the Dominican Republic, Southeast Asia, which is in particular an area where we initiated activity last year. Today, we have already been awarded 436 megawatts in Thailand through our invested company, the Blue Circle. Undoubtedly, the year was outstanding with regards to development of opportunities, also in new technologies such as battery storage, ion lithium batteries, with the acquisition of the biggest project for storing in Texas and an additional portfolio of 1 gigawatt, or for green hydrogen, the acquisition of the first plant in Spain, in Mallorca, and significant progress in additional operations, or offshore wind, both floating and fixed, with positive progress in several technologies and geographies. As for our energy services activity, allow me to say we manage more than 6,000 installations in close to 50 countries for public and private customers. This equates to 4 terawatt-hour of yearly consumption. And in the electric vehicle recharge, we continue growing with new contracts such as the one recently signed with IKEA for the mass deployment of recharge points in their stores in Spain. Our genuine commitment to sustainability has come to fruition, having been awarded the best rating for ESG in the energy industry by Standard & Poor's. In this sense, among other indicators, I want to mention that we have reduced our greenhouse gases emissions by 40%. We have increased the percentage of women in management positions within our workforce by 26%. We have invested in more than 235% more in social impact initiatives, and we have reduced the frequency index of labor workplace accidents by 36% year on year, even having worked 19% more hours. This is a very low index, way below the industry average. In our quest for innovation linked to sustainability, we also want to invest in opportunities for regeneration applied to our business. Among others, we have promoted the consumption renewal cycle focus on the development of solutions for circular economy, and we have also planted more than 200,000 trees in the recent 2 years as a natural carbon sink. All things mentioned so far are but a very brief summary of everything that's happened in 2022, a year that has been led by an exceptional response by the team of professionals and collaborators. a team that is fully aware of its responsibilities and the positive impact of our work. ACCIONA Energía is undoubtedly today in a unique position, but in order to make the most of the potential that the industry of clean energy can offer, we also need, beyond decarbonization, long-term objectives, a sensible regulatory framework that comes hand in hand with our challenge. We must accelerate the permits, but we must invest in the grid. And that's not even enough. We also have to plan better the technology mix for each electric system where we operate. That's the only way we can anticipate problems that we are already witnessing in other geographies with overinvestment in certain technologies. This is why it is so relevant to focus on the combination of all technologies that are free of emissions in order to build models that are more efficient and sustainable long-term. In that sense, our technology diversity is a plus. This would not be enough if we do not promote, incentivize, and adapt demand consumption with greater electrification for all usages and the promotion of technologies such as green hydrogen necessary for the real effective integral change of all fossil fuel consumptions today. In this context, which is complex, but I want to underscore, very thrilling also, because there's a lot still to do in the fight against climate change, ACCIONA Energía will continue to act with discipline and technical rigor, prioritizing profitability and preserving our balance, as well as promoting innovative ambition and a proactive mindset towards growth and new businesses. In the same way, we will continue actively working with regulators in all countries where we operate in order to order and overcome the current market challenges. I want to end by thanking first the members of the Board of Directors, their constant and fundamental support. I also want to thank our employees and collaborators, their extraordinary dedication. I want to thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, shareholders, for your trust in us. Thank you very much.
Well, after this thorough analysis of the company's good position and the very good results reported in the prior fiscal year, let me now give you some bad news. The climate crisis is ongoing, the clock is ticking, and every day that goes by, our opportunity window narrows down, and as a result, the possibility of making progress in the prosperity scenario that we have been enjoying for several decades, that is also narrowing down. And it's very probable that it's going to be reversed completely in the upcoming decades. This trend is extremely favorable and unprecedented in human history. In 30 years, the population under the poverty threshold fell from 36% in 1990 down to 9% in 2022. And let me remind you, like every year, and before I used to do this at ACCIONA's annual general meeting, now at this AGM, CO2 concentration has increased once again, reaching 50% more than in pre-industrial levels. You can see the chart on the screen. 150, 200, 300, 400, 423 parts per million of CO2 concentration is the current figure. When we began discussing this 30 years ago, we used to speak about 400 as the maximum threshold we could reach. So, as I said before, CO2 concentration has far exceeded pre-industrial levels, and it has actually gone beyond the 1.5 degrees of global warming targets. Right now, we are already at a 3 degree Celsius level. So in order to reverse this, or in order not to exceed the thresholds, we should reach the maximum level by 2025 and then starting to reduce such level very quickly thereafter. But let me now go back to the good news shared by the CEO. Society, in broad terms, seems to have understood the message, and according to a recent report by the Pew Research Center, which is one of the platforms and institutes engaged in sociological studies in the United States, they prepared a report for the UN saying that more than two-thirds of the global population in developed countries considers global warming as a key concern. So this is amongst the three main concerns that all countries have. Of course, all countries have their own list of concerns, but global warming ranks amongst the key three concerns that people have, and for that reason, over the past years, this has become a cross-cutting concern across advanced societies. And as a result, governments are beginning to take action. And over the past 3 years, some countries that account for 88% of global emissions or 92% of the world's GDP have undertaken the political commitment of becoming carbon neutral by mid this century, including China, which aims to reach this goal by 2060. Furthermore, and given higher social awareness and the subsequent reaction by governments, and if you could allow me for this lack of modesty, at ACCIONA we have contributed to raise awareness through our campaigns and messages. I'm also very optimistic because the technology required for this decarbonization is already available, and this is just the beginning of this opportunity pathway that will be offered by these technologies. In addition, renewable alternatives, hydrogen or green, ammonia, biofuels, biomethane, synthetic fuels, transportation, electrification, or energy efficiency are very swiftly showing that they are good solutions that are not only clean, but they are also transcendental from a geostrategic standpoint in order to gain energy independence. They are therefore critical for the world's stability, peace, and prosperity. At ACCIONA Energía and at ACCIONA, we will continue making our best efforts to contribute to the economy's decarbonization while building a safer energy system that is free from the shackles and risks imposed by fossil fuels. And as the CEO explained in 2023, we shall far exceed the construction levels of new renewable facilities compared to 2022 when we reached a record high. And as a result, we will continue moving forward in attaining our goal of twofolding our installed capacity by 2026. There has been a delay between 12 to 18 months with regard to our initial estimates or schedule in terms of our installed capacity by 2025. When we became listed, we released a number of estimates. So again, we are talking about a delay between 12 to 18 months due mainly to well-known logistics setbacks as well as supply chain tensions, all that as a result of the post-pandemic market rally after the pandemic crisis in 2020. Nonetheless, and despite all the issues encountered over the past months, all this has been offset by some key corporate transactions and strategic agreements that contribute to reinforce the groundwork of our geographical and technological growth going forward. Thus, we have formalized an agreement with a project development platform in Southeast Asia called the Blue Circle that generates new possibilities in a geographical area where we were not operating, in Southeast Asia specifically. We acquired platform exceeding 1 gigawatt of batteries in the United States that will create know-how and expertise in profitable terms, of course, in the area of electrical storage through utility-scale batteries. And this is know-how and expertise that very few companies in the world boast. There's also a joint venture with Nordex, whereby we're going to develop large green hydrogen plants in faraway locations, and we are going to export this green hydrogen in the form of ammonia to some large demand poles, mainly in the European fertilizer industry. We also have some offshore wind developments. We're talking about some projects in the Philippines, Italy, and some other options in the pipeline in Spain, Poland, and Chile. Or in the sustainable mobility sector, we have more than 80 recharging new points that we put in place in 2022, and we expect to include an additional 300 in 2023. The same applies to artificial intelligence. No doubt, this is one of the most disruptive macro trends that we currently have in the spotlight. And the contribution of AI to renewable energies will create unprecedented opportunities for data analysis in order to optimize the design of our plants, the production, and the life of our assets, and that will enable us to manage electricity markets. In quantitative terms, our leading-edge approach has led us for the first time to outstrip 100 million euros in total investment in groundbreaking initiatives. As a result, we are the most important company with the greatest investment ratio in innovation by employee in our sphere. We continue to be, except for Chinese companies, and we don't know much about them, we are the main fully renewable electricity company in the world, and as a result, we are acknowledged as such by a well-reputed publication in the sector called Energy Intelligence. For the 5th consecutive year, we have been rated as the greenest utility in the world. And according to Standard & Poor's, we are the company with the best ESG rating in the energy sector in Spain and the second most sustainable company in the world. This is not marketing or greenwashing. Actually, it requires a huge amount of efforts, policies, creativity, resources, and no doubt to be fully aligned with all the employees. And let me give you some specific figures. In 2022, we cut Scope 1 and 2 emissions by 40%. Of course, I'm talking about our own emissions, not third-party emissions. This accounts for a total reduction of 80% compared to 2017, which was the starting point of our sustainability master plan, which has, of course, already been updated back in 2022. So this is tantamount to 2.3 tons of CO2 for every million of sales, which is quite lower or much lower than our peers. Besides, we use circular economy programs in order to recycle 98% of the waste we generate, and more than 99% of our capex is in line with the European taxonomy. Also, and in connection with people, and as part of our strategy, and all those who work at ACCIONA Energía, we have the so-called People Project, which is one of our priority initiatives. This campus is intended to become a good example to reflect this project. In addition, we continue making steadfast progress in our gender diversity programs with an increase in female positions in top management positions by 13%. We have been certified as a top employer in Spain, Canada, United States, Brazil, Mexico, Australia, Chile, and South Africa, respectively. And we have also two-folded social investment tied to the development of renewable energy plants. Notwithstanding the foregoing, and even though we continue building up a revaluation of 20%, 21% approximately since we became a listed company, the market has subjected us to very sharp corrections over the past 4 months. It's difficult to tell the exact reasons for that, especially when there is such divergence between the target price of analysts, around 40 euros per share, and our current share price. Nonetheless, we understand that this situation may be driven by several reasons arising from the economic context, market conditions, interest rates, regulations, volatility, and no doubt this is also related with our own capacity to deliver on our growth targets. For that reason, we have implemented a number of mitigating measures that in the medium term, actually, I believe that in the short term, I expect, should convey more confidence to the market as to the value of our company. But regardless of our daily share price, which is to be taken into account because this is a mirror of the intrinsic future of our company, the quality of our business model, its profitability, and our commitment to our principles, a long-term commitment, are no doubt aspects that we keep a close eye on, and we're highly committed to that. If we are able to deliver on those results, the share price will follow suit. In this respect, ACCIONA Energía is today a company that is standing on a much more solid financial position that delivers better results with great growth outlooks and with new technological vectors and a global footprint. Although we face challenges, there's no doubt that global trends are benefiting us. Governments around the globe are working in order to become more energy independent, and efforts to reduce CO2 emissions are growing exponentially. This has driven regulatory support policies, economic incentives, and financing that is now available. This is no doubt the very beginning of one of the key social and economic changes, one of the most important ones over the past centuries. And ACCIONA Energía has not only the legitimacy and the credibility arising from the fact that it was a pioneer, but it also has the expertise, soundness, and resources, mainly human resources, in order to continue leading this change. Thank you very much for your trust in us. We shall continue making our best efforts. We shall continue innovating and acting in a responsible manner to keep on building a sustainable social and energy future. Thank you very much.
We now
Well, now that the list of attendees is ready, we're going to formally constitute the AGM.
61 shareholders attend the meeting in person, holding 273,034,946 shares. This includes 124,301 treasury shares. Out of attending shareholders, one shareholder holding 100 shares attends remotely, and one shareholder holding 700 shares has cast his vote remotely by electronic means, and 38 shareholders holding 758,918 shares have casted their vote remotely by ordinary mail before the celebration of this meeting. 896 shareholders attend by proxy, holding 46,692,499 shares. In total, these 957 shareholders attend this meeting, holding 319,727,445 shares, representing 97.108% of equity capital, which equates to 329,250,789 shares. It is therefore confirmed that there is the necessary quorum as per the company bylaws for the constitution of this AGM, with a decision capacity for all items in the agenda.
So according to the data that have just been read by the Secretary, this AGM is considered to be formally constituted, and now the Secretary can start asking the relevant questions. Thank you.
I now address all persons in attendance to ask whether there are any cautionary remarks or complaints with regards to the words by the chairman relating to the number of shareholders in attendance and the equity capital represented. I invite them to make their comments now, should there be any.
So we're going to start the discussion in order to adopt the resolutions included on the agenda. Well, since registration, the remote attendees have been able to participate or communicate with the notary public. By the same token, if any attendee wishes to take the floor or wants to participate, they will have to inform the notary public accordingly as of this time. If in addition the shareholders want their participation to be included verbatim in the minutes, they have to submit the text to the notary public. Once the participation time is over, we're going to address all the matters that may have been raised, if applicable. No request to take the floor has been received, and no questions have been raised by the attending shareholders and by the remote attendees. So since registration, telematic attendees can cast their vote, positive, negative votes, or abstention on the different proposals for resolution included on the agenda. Well, given the fact that there are no questions and nobody wants to participate, this section is over, and therefore we are going to present the different proposals for resolution that we include as part of this AGM, and afterwards we are going to allow for voting by shareholders in attendance and remote attendees. So the specific resolutions that are subjected to the AGM about each item on the agenda are the ones that I'm going to summarize right now. I'm going to skip reading them fully, given the fact that the text of these proposals has been made available before and will continue to be shown on the screen. So those shareholders that want to express their abstention, positive or negative vote, or their objection to any of the proposals for resolution may state so to the notary public, stating their name, the number of shares they hold, or the shares by proxy, and the purpose of their vote on each item on the agenda. Any remote attendees who may wish to express their objection to any of the proposals may do so through the application and by using the section Communication to the Notary Public thereunder. Let me remind you that according to our bylaws, the negative deduction method shall apply to vote on the matters on the agenda, and the positive deduction method for those not included in the agenda. Shareholders may have access to the accurate number of votes on the company's website at the end of this AGM. Next, The Secretary will advise you about the documentation that was made available to you since the call to meeting, as well as the different proposals for resolutions submitted by the Board of Directors. And based on the information provided by the group through the corporate governance report, I would like to state that no major changes have occurred with regard to the company's corporate governance, and we continue to comply with the Code of Good Governance on listed companies that apply to us, except for number 48, which is concerned with the splitting into two committees of the appointment and remuneration committees. And the reason why we do not comply with this recommendation that is stated in our annual corporate governance report that I have just mentioned. The shareholders, therefore, had available all the proposals for resolution presented by the Board of Directors with my apologies. The shareholders were provided with all the proposals for resolutions submitted by the Board of Directors concerning all of the items on the agenda, as well as all the documentation that is available on the company's website. This information has been therefore made available to all shareholders, and the list of such proposals for resolutions are now shown on the screen. Therefore, we're going to start debating and voting the different matters on the agenda. Let me remind remote attendees that since registration and until we finish reading all these proposals for resolutions, you can cast your votes. Item number 1 and all relevant sections. We subject to your approval to your voting the approval of the individual and consolidated financial statements, the management or the directors' reports, both individual and consolidated, the action and social management report, as well as the consolidated non-financial report, and the application of results, which includes the distribution of a gross dividend of approximately 70 euros per share that will be paid on the 15th of June 2023. Finally, the re-election of KPMG as the auditor of the company for the fiscal period 2023. Is it approved? Yes, it is approved. Item number 2 and the related subsections, we subject to your voting the renewal of the Board of Directors. Before we proceed to this voting, I would like to thank the outgoing Board Director, Ms. Ines Andrade, on my own behalf and on behalf of the company's Board of Directors and the company, for her dedication, engagement with ACCIONA over the past 2 years of her tenure. She's leaving us for well-grounded reasons. But of course, I fully respect her decision. Thank you very much, Ines. On the other hand, I would like to welcome Ms. Teresa Quiroz. After the approval by this AGM, and as of today, she will join the Board of Directors. Her resume is available on the company's website and is well known. Let me summarize quickly her resume. She holds a bachelor's degree in economics and business administration. She participated in different top management programs, and she has experience in the electricity markets in Europe, Chile, Peru, and Brazil. She also attended programs at IESE, SADE, and Harvard. She has broad know-how in the infrastructure industry, in the energy sector, structure and regulation of the electricity market, diversification with a strong focus on technological transformation. In addition, Teresa was CFO of the Red Eléctrica Group for a 6-year term and a board member at Hispasat, among other listed companies. I'm certain that her joining our board of directors will contribute to the good governance and progress of our company. On behalf, therefore, of the Board of Directors and on my own behalf, I would like to extend my appreciation to both of them, to the outgoing member and to the incoming board member. Section 2.1, we propose a re-election after the favorable report issued by the Appointment and Remuneration Committee of Mr. José Manuel Entrecanales Domecq as proprietary board member at the proposal of the shareholder ACCIONA SA. Any votes against? Approved. Item 2.2, we propose, after the favorable report of the Appointment and Remuneration Committee, of Mr. Rafael Mateo Alcalá as Executive Officer. We propose for his re-election. Any votes against? Item 2.3, we propose a re-election after the favorable report of the Appointment and Remuneration Committee of Mr. Juan Ignacio Entrecanales Franco as proprietary director at the proposal of the shareholder ACCIONA SA. Any votes against? Approved. Item 2.4, we propose a re-election after the favorable report of the Appointment and Remuneration Committee of Ms. Sonia Dula as proprietary director at the proposal of the shareholder ACCIONA SA. Any negative votes? It is therefore approved. Item 2.5, we propose a re-election after the favorable report of the Appointment and Remuneration Committee of Ms. Cristiana Figueres as proprietary director at the proposal of the shareholder ACCIONA SA. Any negative votes? Approved. Item 2.6, we propose a re-election at the proposal of the Appointment and Remuneration Committee of Mr. Juan Luis López Cardenete as independent director. Any votes against? Item 2.7, we propose a re-election at the proposal of the Appointment and Remuneration Committee of Ms. María Salgado Madriñán as independent director. Any votes against? Item 2.8, we propose a re-election at the proposal of the Appointment and Remuneration Committee of Mr. Rosauro Varo Rodriguez as independent director. Any votes against? Item 2.9, we propose a re-election at the proposal of the Appointment and Remuneration Committee of Mr. Alejandro Werner as independent director. Any votes against? Under item 2.10, we propose a re-election at the proposal of the Appointment and Remuneration Committee of Ms. María Fanjul Suárez as independent director. Any votes against? And under item 2.11, we propose the appointment at the proposal of the Appointment and Remuneration Committee of Ms. Teresa Quiroz Álvarez as independent director. Any votes against? Approved. Well, they have all been proposed to fulfill the bylaw term, so all of the foregoing people accept their appointments and they state that they comply with the legal requirements for this tenure. Therefore, I would like to approve the renewal of the Board of Directors, and once again, let me welcome Teresa for her appointment. Item number 3, we propose the voting of the approval, if applicable, of the remuneration policy of the Board of Directors for fiscal years 2024, 2025, and 2026. Any votes against? Approved. Item number 4, we propose the voting to approve the annual report on the remuneration of the board members for 2022. Any votes against? It's approved. Item number 5, we propose the voting of the approval of the 2022 sustainability report and the 2025 sustainability master plan. Any votes against? Approved. Item number 6, we propose the voting to authorize the Board of Directors to convene extraordinary meetings for the company with 15 days in advance, at least, pursuant to Article 515 of the Spanish Companies Act. Any votes against? It is therefore approved. And finally, item number 7, we propose to grant the powers to the Board of Directors in order to develop, construe, redress, and execute all the resolutions adopted by the annual general meeting according to the terms and conditions that were made available to the shareholders. Any votes against? It is therefore approved. Very well. Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. We have therefore read all of the proposals for resolution according to the items included in the agenda. I therefore conclude the voting procedure, including the remote attend this voting procedure. Taking into account the vote count based on the votes cast by the shareholders in attendance and those connected remotely, I would say that we have obtained at least 85.8% of positive votes, notwithstanding the fact that those of you who may have access to the accurate vote count can see that information on the company's website. All other developments that have occurred at this AGM will be written down in the AGM minutes. Thank you very much for your attendance, and the meeting is now adjourned.